couldn't breathe. The air stung my lungs as I stood in that courtroom, the fluorescent lights flickering above me, illuminating the faces of the people I once cherished. I felt the weight of the world pressing down on me, 1,000 eyes observing every flicker of my eyelids. They expected me to speak, to defend myself against the relentless accusations pummeling me from all sides. But honestly, at that moment, I couldn't muster a single word. How did I even get here? All I could think was that my sister, standing smugly beside my husband with her arms crossed, was dressed in white, as if she were the bride. It was a mockery, a slap in the face that echoed within the hollow shell of my heart. A text message had slithered from her phone to Mina, simple. Can't wait for our honeymoon. And even with its minimal syllabic impact, it shattered everything I thought was real. My entire existence, encased in glass, fragmenting into pieces that cut deep into my psyche. I closed my eyes. As the shouts of the courtroom faded, I was thrust back to the day it all began, my wedding day. The sun bathed the garden in golden hues as hope wrapped its warm arms around me. I was the little girl in white, twirling in the backyard of my childhood home. My dreams weren't draped in the irony they would soon carry. No, they were bright and filled with love, promises, and laughter. Are you ready? Jason, my fiancé, my soon-to-be husband, asked, his voice soft and soothing like honey poured over warm bread. I remember the confidence in his eyes and the way my stomach fluttered as he held my hands. I've waited for this day my whole life. I laughed, my heart dancing with excitement. His smile widened as he brushed a strand of hair behind my ear. You're going to be the most beautiful bride, I swear. Just wait till you see me in my suit. I'll take your breath away. The church bells chimed melodically in the distance. Those early moments were a kaleidoscope of beauty, joy, laughter, bliss. But as they say, dreams don't last forever. Over the following months, I noticed things shifting. I remember one particular evening vividly, the small crack that would widen into a chasm. The flickering streetlight outside cast twisted shadows on our living room wall, an unsettling backdrop to a conversation I never imagined would leave such a mark. Are you going somewhere? I asked, sensing that familiar tension in the air. I had become adept at picking up on it. The slightest shift in his demeanor would have me on high alert. Why are you being paranoid? Jason snapped, his voice sharp, cutting through my thoughts like a knife. I'm just hanging out with friends. You know, the type of people you never want to meet. The smirk on his lips stung, a clever twist that placed the blame squarely on me. But his eyes went cold. But what? I can't have a life outside of you. You're being ridiculous, Anna. I swallowed hard, my heart racing as confusion mingled with despair. I didn't want to argue, but I had stumbled upon whispers of late-night texts, of conversations hastily ended when I walked into the room, of toys and mementos from our shared life flipped into archaeological artifacts slowly lost to time. I felt like I was suffocating under my loyalty to a man who might not love me like I thought he did. Months turned into an abyss of emotional isolation. My friends stopped calling. They stopped inviting me out. I found myself at home, walls closing in with every passing day. I drifted from texts, my fingers hovering over the call button, knowing that a plea for help would be met with silence. A decade of friendship faded like the light from the setting sun. Why don't you ever come out with us anymore? My childhood friend Samantha had asked during one of our last outings before she stopped reaching out. Disappointment etched across her face when I mumbled that I was too busy. You're disappearing, Anna. You have to live a little. She tilted her head, searching my eyes. But I was too deep in a fog of insecurity and dependency to admit how much I craved their friendship. I felt like I was vanishing into thin air, hour by hour, month by month. Jason became my entire world, the only anchor I clung to, the very essence of everything I thought I wanted. But dependence became reflected in my eyes, a haunting reminder of the fact that he held the power. In that courtroom, those memories echoed back, reminding me of how lost I had become. There I stood, shackled by the weight of betrayal, and trapped between the earnest gaze I once adored and the monstrous being he had morphed into. My sister's laughter pierced my heart. That sound wrapped around my mind as I confronted the reality unfolding before me. And I realized one brutal truth. I had to fight back. If I didn't, I would slip away forever, lost in the shadows cast by their betrayal. I steeled my resolve as I looked at them both, standing confidently before those watching. The battle wasn't just for my voice in that courtroom, it was for my life. Image prompt. Protagonist with long brown hair, disheveled and tear-streaked face, wearing a simple wedding dress that looks out of place in the cold, harsh lighting of the courtroom. Her eyes are wide, reflecting desperation to the side. Her sister with dark, shoulder-length hair in a white dress adorned with intricate lace, arms crossed and smirking. The husband is tall and muscular, with a smug face, his one arm casually resting on the back of the chair. I stared at my sister and Jason, my husband, with an overwhelming sense of disbelief. The courtroom felt more like a gladiator's arena than a place for justice. As I sat frozen in that moment, the memory of a simple Saturday afternoon came rushing back. A day when I cracked the facade of my seemingly perfect life. It had started innocently enough. I was scrolling through my phone at home, nestled in our old threadbare couch, the smell of stale coffee wafting through the air. I leaned back, comforted by the dim light filtering through half-drawn curtains, yet something gnawed at my gut. It was a text from Heather, my sister, sent weeks earlier. I could hear the muffled sounds of Jason in his office, the rhythmic tapping of keys punctuating the silence. The brightness of my phone screen illuminated my face as I unlocked my screen. "Do you even know what he's doing?" Heather's text glared at me with a cruel urgency. I felt my heart hammer against my chest. Was Jason up to something? Right after that, the notification bell chimed, and another message came in, this time from Jason. "Did you finish that project yet? Are you coming to dinner?" Simple, benign queries that should have soothed my anxiety, yet a tight knot of dread formed in my stomach. My fingers moved with a will of their own. I opened the thread, my breath quickening. I fished out old messages that felt like hidden clues, threads in a tapestry slowly unraveling. Then I saw it. A text on Heather's phone, lying carelessly on the coffee table, reflecting back the remnants of a happy, trusting life. "Can't wait for our honeymoon." My blood ran cold as I recalled the warmth of that same phone against our shared happiness. "Anna." The sharp tone of Jason jolted me back to the present. He was standing in the doorway, his brow furrowed for a moment, before a mask of casual indifference settled over his features. "What are you doing on my phone?" I stumbled to an upright position, stammering, just checking your emails." My stomach churned with his accusation as he flicked through our shared space. The array of photos plastered all around screamed of deceptionists in happy adventures, but now they felt like chains shackling me to a false life. "Where's your trust gone?" "You know I'm just working," he said, stepping closer, his breath warm against my chilled skin. "You shouldn't go looking for trouble." "It's unhealthy, Anna. I wasn't looking for trouble." My voice trembled under the weight of his gaze. "Are you sure about that? You seem to find a way to make everything about you." His sharpness stung, slicing through the fragile thread of conversation like a razor. As he retreated to his office, dark thoughts began to weave their way into my consciousness. I had to dig deeper. If Jason had something to hide, I needed to uncover it. A fire sparked within me, igniting a determination I'd thought was extinguished. Days bled into weeks as I shifted from distressed wife to a secret investigator, gathering fragments of something sinister. I hated myself for becoming this person, but desperation forced my hand. I systematically combed through Jason's belongings while he was away at work. I found receipts for dinners at upscale restaurants, clearly expensive enough for two. My heart sank each time I collected a piece, each note feeling like it was chipping away at the last shreds of our life together. It was during one of these scavenger hunts that I decided to contact Kim, an old law school friend who had once captivated my trust. I hoped she could help. I called her that evening, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey, it's Anna. Can we meet? I need your advice on something personal." She picked up quickly, enthusiasm pouring from her voice. "Of course. How about a coffee at that cute cafe downtown? We can catch up too." As we sipped our coffees amid the chatter of unsuspecting patrons, I leaned closer, my voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I think Jason might be cheating on me with Heather." Kim's eyes widened, her hand frozen mid-motion before she lowered her cup onto the table. "Wait, what? How do you know?" Through trembling lips, I recounted the events, the text message that had shattered my world. Each word felt heavier than stone as I laid my vulnerability before her. "Damn it, Anna. You need to gather evidence. Concrete proof. If you want to confront them or possibly take legal action, you can't approach it blindly. She studied me, an urgency in her expression. I don't know where to start, I admitted, fear clawing at my throat. I've thought about hiring a private investigator, but stop thinking, she said firmly. I'll help you find someone trustworthy. Let's get your answers, Anna. You deserve to know the truth. Relief washed over me like balm on a burn as we exchanged tips and ideas. Our cozy cafe becoming a war room for my darkest fears. I felt a slight resurgence of hope as we dove deeper into the plans. Under her guidance, I began to feel strengths rallying within me, the kind I thought long extinguished under the weight of infidelity. As I left the cafe that evening, the brisk air filled my lungs, new resolve coursing through me. The truth was out there, hiding in shadows, and I was determined to unearth it, no matter the cost. Image prompt. Protagonist with long brown hair tied back, wearing a dark, oversized sweater to cover her vulnerability, eyes filled with determination. In the background, the cafe is warm with glowing lights, with Kim, a short black woman with an infectious smile, animatedly discussing plans across the table. Surrounded by a coffee shop ambiance of laughter and chatter. The weight of dread clung to me like fog as I left the cafe with Kim's words still echoing in my mind. I knew I had to confront Jason and Heather, but adrenaline coursed through my veins, leaving the taste of copper on my tongue. My heart raced as I made my way home, each step echoing in my skull. The simple, familiar environment of our house suddenly felt like a cage, bars closing in around me. I stepped inside, the scent of his cologne mingling with the musty air. The echo of my footsteps faded, replaced by silence. Unsure of where they might be, I crept through the living room. As I turned the corner, my stomach flipped. The two of them were together. Seated on the couch, laughter spilling from their mouths like poison. Anna! Jason's voice ricocheted through the room, cutting through the tension. Look who decided to join us. Yeah, look who came back, Heather chimed, her tone dripping with feigned sweetness. A pang of rage surged through me as they exchanged mischievous grins. Can I talk to both of you? I said, my voice wavering as I reached for whatever strength I could muster. Sure. Are you going to tell us about your crazy day? Jason teased, leaning back, arms crossed smugly behind his head. Actually, no, I said, forcing the words out. I need to talk about you two. What do you mean? Jason quirked an eyebrow, the mask of innocence slipping onto his face with practiced ease. Don't play dumb. I stepped closer, heart pounding. I know what's going on, Heather. I saw your text. Don't act like it's all harmless. Suddenly, silence enveloped the room like a suffocating blanket. What text? Heather asked innocently, tilting her head as if she were baiting me. I felt like my legs might buckle beneath me. The one about the honeymoon? It's not a joke. I rushed the words out, desperation leaking through the cracks in my facade. You're both betraying me, Anna, she cried, feigning concern, but her smirk barely masked her amusement. You seriously need to calm down. You're making this seem way worse than it is. Jason chuckled softly, rubbing the back of his neck. Honey, I think you might be overreacting a little. You know how siblings joke, right? Their laughter twisted the knife deeper. This isn't funny. I deserve to know where your loyalties lie. Well, it sounds like you have trust issues, Jason interjected, condescendingly. We're just friends, but your paranoia is out of control. Paranoia? My voice cracked as disbelief twisted my thoughts. I'm not paranoid. I'm just trying to save my marriage, Jason. I saw the text. Is that what you call this? He scoffed, moving in closer. Chasing your sister around like some maniac? You're only making it worse for yourself. For a moment, the situation turned into an absurd pantomime of their mutual deflection, and I felt the walls of sanity begin to crumble. You're turning this on me. I felt the heat rising in my cheeks. I'm not crazy. It's abuse. It's betrayal. The only one acting crazy is you, Heather shot back, eyes narrowing. No one here is betraying you. You're paranoid, and frankly, I'm getting afraid to be around you. Afraid? I gasped, betrayal morphing into disbelief. You're the one screwing my husband. You're so delusional, she said, crossing her arms as if dismissing my emotional hurricane. We're family, Anna. I would never hurt you like that. Family? You really think this is about family? My voice shook as panic surged through me. You're both laughing at my pain. What do you take me for? Honestly. A little untethered, Jason replied flatly, his expression chilling as the smile slipped from his lips. The warmth drained from my chest into icy despair. Maybe you should talk to someone. My heart sank as they exchanged looks, conspiratorial, mocking. I felt cornered. I was losing their sympathy, losing the fight. How could I prove my sanity against their assertions? I could feel their betrayal snapping like a taut wire under the pressure of my cries, tainting my words with a sense of hysteria. "Anna," Jason said, his voice dripping with faux concern, "I think it's best if you take a step back. I don't know what you think you saw, but you need help. No one can support those wild accusations. I can't believe you." I gasped, anguish strangling the words. "How can you let her twist this against me? You're gaslighting me." "Gaslighting? Really? This isn't a movie," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. "You need to cut it out. Let's take a breather, okay?" "Really? You think I need a breather? After what you two have done?" I yelled, panic spiraling into a sob that ripped from my throat. "I think you should own your emotions a little better," Heather stated nonchalantly, as if discussing the weather. "You don't need to be so dramatic." Behind their gentle expressions, boiling rage simmered, basking in the absurdity of how easily they shifted the blame. I felt trapped, the very ground beneath me quaking with doubt. Without another word, I turned to leave, the taste of bitter betrayal swirling in my mouth. My head spun as their laughter echoed behind me, mocking, taunting, as I fled deeper into the dark, dim corners of our home. My sanctuary turned prison. Image prompt. Protagonist with disheveled hair, tears glistening down her cheeks. Eyes wide with disbelief, standing in the doorway of her living room. To her right, her sister with dark hair, an arrogant smirk playing on her lips in a casual position, and her husband, tall with a dismissive smile, leaning back on the couch as if enjoying a game rather than a confrontation. The room feels claustrophobic, shadows creeping in from all corners, amplifying the emotional turmoil around her. I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest as Jason leaned back on the couch, his casual demeanor infuriatingly relaxed. Each smirk exchanged between him and Heather felt like a dagger twisting in my gut. The laughter rang hollow, echoing through my mind like a mocking chorus. I needed to confront them, but their words hung in the air, suffocating the fragile courage I had managed to muster. "Anna, are you really going to keep this up?" Jason said, his voice dripping with condescension. "You're only making this worse for yourself." "Worse for myself?" I spat, my fists clenched so tightly I could feel my nails digging into my palms. "You're the ones lying to my face. You think I'm just supposed to accept this? Acceptance?" "No one's asking you to accept anything," Heather chimed in, her tone deceptively sweet. "We're just saying you should focus on getting help instead of chasing shadows. You're both disgusting," I managed to choke out. "You're laughing at my pain." "We're not laughing," Jason said, his voice taking on an edge. "We're disappointed. You're being paranoid and we have our lives to live." "Your lives?" Voice shook with fury. "While you laugh at the wreck you've made of mine? Anna, this isn't healthy. Look around you," he said, waving a hand dismissively toward our shared space. "You're spiraling and I can't help you with that." In a moment of clarity, I realized they were symbiotic, feeding off each other's betrayals while I clung desperately to my sanity. "This isn't just about me. You've both hurt me deeply. I'm your wife and your sister." As Jason crossed his arms, the condescending expression settled firmly on his face. "And what exactly do you want me to do?" "I have zero intention of apologizing. You need to get used to reality." Reality felt like it was slipping away from me, a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. "This isn't about you being right, Jason. It's about you being cruel." "Cruelty?" Heather echoed, her voice laced with venom. "You're the one making this all about you simply because you can't handle the truth." Their twisted version of love churned my stomach, sparking a fire of rage that I couldn't contain. "You know what? I think I've had enough of this charade." I turned on my heels, ready to escape the madness. But I slammed right back into Jason's arm as he stepped in front of me, blocking my path. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked coolly, leaning closer, his breath warm against my skin. "Away from you!" I shouted, desperation spilling out with every word. "You don't get to manipulate me like this anymore." "I'm not manipulating you, Anna," he replied, feigning innocence. "You've always been so dramatic." "Dramatic? You call this dramatic?" I gestured wildly, feeling emotions swell to the surface like a tidal wave threatening to drown me. This is real. You've thrown my life into chaos, and then you have the audacity to stand here and mock me. Please, he scoffed, rolling his eyes. You need to own your feelings better. This is embarrassing. As his words stung, I felt my resolve weaken. What am I supposed to do, Jason? Just take a step back and let you continue your affairs? Yes, he said simply, the smugness dripping from his voice like poison. That's precisely what you need to do. It's exhausting taking care of your emotions when you keep lashing out at us. My legs felt like they might give way. I spun to leave again, but instead, I felt a sharp tug at my arm. Where do you think you're going? Heather hissed, her grip firm. Let me go, cried, my heart racing. I wrenched free from her grasp. Why don't you go and take a few days to cool down? Jason proposed, smirking. You need it. Maybe a little separation would do you good. Separation? I repeated, my voice wavering. You want to kick me out? Jason crossed his arms. You're clearly not being reasonable. Maybe a few nights away from each other is what you need. Tears blurred my vision as the truth crashed into me like a freight train. You can't be serious, I whispered, feeling hollow inside. You want me to leave our home, our life together, all because you've betrayed me? I'm surprised you don't understand, he replied coolly. This is how real life works, Anna. Old relationships get redefined. You're not a victim here. You're simply in denial. Despair clenched at my throat, robbing me of breath. I can't believe you've turned things around so easily. You two are a nightmare. And you're the one creating it, Heather added, crossing her arms defensively, mischief dancing in her eyes. So why don't you just pack your things and go? I felt the ground drop from beneath me as reality set in my life was being dismantled right before my eyes. The walls of our home, once brimming with laughter and warmth, now felt like a prison cage where I'd been trapped, and it was cracking under the weight of their cruelty. Fine, I said through gritted teeth, feeling a shudder run through me. I'll leave. Good. Maybe time apart will give you the clarity you need, Jason said, a sickening smile spreading across his lips, a mocking gleam in his eyes. Turned away, fighting back tears. The sound of laughter behind me echoed like a curse as I gathered my things, disorientated and heartbroken, stepping out of the only life I'd known with nothing but a handful of clothes. Standing on the cold porch, my heart thrummed with heartbreak and uncertainty. As I turned away, the warmth of the sun felt like a betrayal itself, illuminating a dark path of vulnerability ahead. I felt unmoored, drifting into a world I had to navigate alone, a world filled with uncertainty and loneliness. They thought they had destroyed me. If you hate bullies, hit the like button. Image prompt. Protagonist standing on the cold porch of her house, wearing a few hastily gathered clothes in her arms with tears streaming down her cheeks. Her hair is disheveled and her eyes are wide with grief and despair. In the background, through the glass-paneled door, Jason and Heather exchanged congratulatory smiles, a scene of mockery and triumph. As I sat on the cold, hard bench of the cafe where I had met Kim, the sunlight filtered through the murky glass, casting distorted patterns on the table. It felt surreal to think that my life had spiraled into this chaotic mess me, once an optimistic bride, to be, now a detective on the hunt for truth. I clutched my coffee cup like a lifeline, the warmth seeping into my palms, grounding me. But the chaos in my mind refused to relent. Anna Kim leaned forward, elbows resting on the table, her intensity palpable. What exactly do you want to find out about Jason and Heather? What are you suspecting they might be hiding? I don't know, I admitted quietly, biting my lip as I struggled to gather my thoughts. I don't just think they're cheating. I think there's more. Something deeper. Kim's eyes narrowed thoughtfully and her brow furrowed slightly. Like what? You mentioned a message you saw. Was that the only thing, or do you have other suspicions? That message haunted me. There's a whole history I stumbled into. The late-night calls, those secretive texts. It's like a puzzle I'm trying to piece together while they keep rearranging the pieces. She nodded thoughtfully, processing my fears. You need evidence, Anna. Solid proof that would stand in court if it came to that. I can help you find it. Let's dig deeper. I took a deep breath, my heart racing as the adrenaline kicked in. What do you suggest? First off, I know a private investigator, someone reliable. We can set up surveillance on Jason, if he's involved in something illegal, or if there's a hidden family. We'll find it. Can you really do that? The idea seemed daunting, but hope flickered at the edges of my despair. Yes, but we need to act quickly. Her determination sparked something inside me. I'll reach out and get a meeting set up. Just be aware that things could get messy. I took a moment to absorb the gravity of what we were about to undertake. Messy, how? People like your husband don't take kindly to being followed or spied on. We might uncover details that could make things even more volatile between you three. Then what's my alternative? To be left clueless? I couldn't bear the thought. I refused to be their victim any longer. Good attitude. It's time to take back your life, she said, her smile encouraging. Now, why don't we meet up tomorrow? We'll have a whole plan sketched out, and I promise it'll empower you. Over the next few days, we worked tirelessly. I still couldn't shake the residue of their accusations or the overwhelming tidal wave of emotions, but I could focus on the investigative work. With Kim's help, we compiled a timeline of Jason's activities and messages, unraveling string after string until we weaved a taut net. Then came the day we had arranged to meet the private investigator, Andrew, at a dingy diner on the outskirts of town. I walked in with Kim, anxiety bubbling in my chest. Andrew was a burly man with a grizzled beard and an approach that felt oddly comforting in its simple straightforwardness. "Okay, ladies," he said, settling into the booth across from us. "What's the situation? I need all the details." I glanced nervously at Kim, who encouraged me with a nod. "I believe my husband is cheating and possibly involved in, how do I say this, something illegal." The words hung in the air, a stark contrast to the scent of greasy food that lingered all around us. Andrew's eyes sharpened as I continued. "There's been strange behavior lately, late-night texts, and then I found a message from Heather on his phone. They're planning something. I can run a background check, dig into financials, see where he's been spending money," Andrew said, jotting down notes, his pen clicking aggressively against the paper. "Are there any other details you think might be relevant? If he's in debt, I want to know about it," I added. "And I'm concerned that Heather could be part of whatever scheme they're cooking up." "Leave that to me," he said, his expression turning serious. "I'll keep my eyes and ears open. You just focus on what you can control. You're getting your life back." It felt empowering to think that I was taking charge of my fate, rather than remaining lost in the shadows of betrayal. As I left the diner, the air felt electric, laden with unspoken promises of what was yet to come. I clenched my fists, revving myself up for the fight ahead. A few days later, Andrew called me in the evening, his voice steady but tense. "Anna, I have something for you. Meet me at the cafe on Main. Is it bad news?" I could barely breathe. "No, it's not bad. Just, let's talk in person." With every heartbeat, anxiety built up, and a storm of uncertain thoughts raged in my mind. What had he found? My mind raced with possibilities. When I arrived at the cafe, Andrew was already seated, his expression serious. He slid a manila envelope across the table. My heart raced as I opened it. Pictures spilled out. Images of Jason meeting another woman, Heather. It was undeniable, but it went deeper than I thought. As I flipped through the photographs, I found receipts. The kind that told stories, dinners at expensive restaurants, purchases that didn't belong to our household, a hidden credit card, evidence of a stolen identity. "Anna," he began, "this is bigger than your marriage. There's more associated with these transactions, and I want you to consider these details carefully." The world around me began to dull as I scrambled to process the revelations. My life flashed before me, deception draping over every memory I once cherished. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a crime, and it was twisted into the very fabric of my reality. As the weight of the evidence sank in, I felt something shift inside me, a cold anger swelling. "I will expose them," I said, anger sharpening my resolve. "It's time they faced the consequences." Image prompt: protagonist sitting in a dimly lit cafe. Hair pulled back in a messy bun, eyes wide with determination and horror as she goes through a manila envelope. Surrounding them are uncomfortable shadows, and Andrew, a tall and stocky man with a rugged appearance, leans forward with an intense expression, his fingers brushing against the evidence of betrayal laid on the table. The days following Andrew's revelations felt like shards of glass littering my mind. I was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions: anger, sorrow, confusion while plotting my next step. I could either spiral into a fit of revenge or take control of the situation, and deep down, I felt the need to play the long game. I needed a trap that would expose Jason and Heather in a way they couldn't wriggle free from. Their own lies needed to catch them, and I was determined to make it happen. As thoughts whirled, the idea began to crystallize in my mind. The annual charity gala was approaching, an event they both never missed. I could play the role of a victim, like a pawn on a chessboard, while orchestrating a public execution of their facades. All I needed was time to set everything in motion. I approached Kim at our usual coffee spot, excitement prickling at the back of my neck. "I have a plan," I announced. "Let's hear it," she replied, leaning in, her eyes glittering with encouragement. "I'm going to pretend like I'm defeated, like none of this affects me anymore. I'll act as if I'm ready to forgive them, get them both into a false sense of security, but I will use the gala to expose them." Her brows raised in appreciation. "That's brilliant, but how do you plan to get them both there? They might pull a fast one on you." "Oh, they will. But I'm going to make it hard for them to say no," I said, determination coursing through my veins. "I'll turn the focus on myself. Just let them think they hold the reins." Asterisk. Asterisk. The night of the gala arrived, the air thick with the aroma of expensive perfumes and the sound of soft jazz filling the grand ballroom. I wore a floor-length red dress, daring and bold, my hair pinned back in loose waves. I wanted to look stunning to regain their attention, but deep inside, I felt like a storm brewing. Standing at the entrance, I spotted Jason and Heather, both dressed finely, exuding confidence like it was a second skin. As I approached with a smile as sharp as glass, they barely concealed their surprise, a palpable shift in the air between us. "Anna," Jason exclaimed, feigning excitement as he pulled me into a hug. "Wow, you look amazing, like a whole new woman." "Thanks," I replied, keeping my voice steady. I decided it was time to embrace something new. Heather's face shifted slightly, eyebrows knitting together in confusion. "New beginnings, I guess." "Exactly," I smiled, inwardly relishing their discomfort. "Let's celebrate." The evening unfolded like a meticulously crafted symphony, laughter mingling with tension as I mingled effortlessly with guests, appearing friendly yet focused. My heart raced with anticipation as I navigated through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries until I caught sight of Andrew, who quietly arrived at the gala as planned. I motioned him over discreetly, and he joined me under the pretense of admiring the decor. "Are you ready?" I whispered, my heart thrumming in my chest. "Of course," he replied, eyes flicking toward Jason and Heather, whose laughs danced deceptively in the air. "Just say the word." With the soiree reaching its peak, I decided it was finally time to drop the first hammer. I gathered my courage and clinked my glass, the tiny sound capturing attention almost instantly. "Can I have everyone's attention, please?" I announced. A hush fell over the crowd, and I felt both exhilarated and terrified. Jason and Heather exchanged apprehensive glances as I spoke, my voice steady yet laced with theatricality. "Tonight is all about celebrating new beginnings. And I'd like to celebrate my marriage too, however flawed it may feel right now," the crowd murmured, shifting their eyes between me and the couple as tension thickened in the air. "And an essential part of new beginnings is first acknowledging the truth." "What truth?" Heather blurted out, her tone defensive. "Ah, Heather, I think you already know," I replied sweetly, the air crackling with anticipation. "You've played a pivotal role in this journey, but don't worry, I'm not here to ruin your evening." "Anna, what are you doing?" Jason asked, his voice low and tense. "Relax. I'm just sharing my truth," I smiled coolly, glancing around the room, absorbing the wide-eyed gazers filled with intrigue. "But first, let's invite a special guest to join our little celebration." I signaled Andrew, who stepped out of the shadows, and I kicked the trap into motion. "Ladies and gentlemen, I've gathered undeniable proof of Jason's little night escapades. I think we should all take a closer look." As Andrew launched into the crux of the evidence, the photographs, the texts, the receipts, gasps echoed through the ballroom, each exposing the tangled web of deception surrounding us. I locked eyes with Heather, my expression unyielding as she blanched, caught within a tight noose of exposed lies. "Anna, you can't!" Jason began, but the dam had broken. The facade they had built crumbled around them. I had to decide, forgive or destroy. What would you have done? I asked the crowd, keeping my gaze steady on them both. Forgiveness only comes if there are no secrets left to hide. The aftermath played out like a dark comedy, with whispers circulating through the ballroom, portraits of shame dancing across Jason and Heather's faces. And through it all, I felt a profound sense of relief. The trap had worked, catching them in the very act of their treachery. Image prompt. Protagonist wearing a stunning floor-length red dress, standing confidently with a glass raised at a lavish gala. Her expression a fierce blend of determination and triumph. In the background, Jason and Heather, both in elegant attire, appear tense and cornered. Their expressions frozen in disbelief as Andrew stands by her side, a supportive presence among the crowd murmurings. The setting is lavish, with twinkling lights and elegantly dressed guests, exuding a vibe of injustice and revelation. As the evening unfolded, the revelry of the gala morphed into a surreal atmosphere thick with tension. I stood at the center of this carefully orchestrated narrative, a phoenix rising from the ashes of betrayal, ready to unveil the truth. The lights danced around us, glittering off crystal glasses. But all I could see were the two faces that had shattered my world, Jason and Heather. Thank you all for joining us tonight, I began again, my voice steady, cutting through the whispers. I hope you're all enjoying the charming illusion my husband and sister have built. It's a lovely charade, but like all illusions, it's about to come crashing down. Heather's expression darkened, and I could see the gears turning in her head. Anna, stop, you're embarrassing yourself, she hissed. But a quick glance at the watchers around the room showed me that no one was interested in cutting this performance short. Embarrassing? I feigned surprise. Why, Heather, I'm so glad you could join us tonight. Although I assumed you'd be otherwise occupied, like perhaps on a honeymoon with my husband. I raised my glass, showcasing the damning photographs, the cruel reminders of their betrayal. A gasp rippled through the crowd, eyes widening as they caught sight of the evidence revealing the cracks in their facade. The photos hung suspended in the air like thunderclouds of truth. Look at that, folks, Andrew chimed in, stepping forward. This talented duo has been busy all the while pretending to be other people. Last I checked, the marriage vows include fidelity, but apparently they skipped that section in their little handbook. The atmosphere shifted palpably, glares directed at Jason and Heather, their mirage crumbling like dust in the wind. I glanced at Jason, who was now shifting uncomfortably, his confidence now evanescing. Honor, come on. This is ridiculous, he sputtered, red creeping into his cheeks like a burst of shame. You can't just humiliate us like this. Humiliate you? I laughed, dark amusement echoing in my voice. You brought this upon yourselves. My sister wearing white at my wedding, smiling at my face while plotting behind closed doors. How exquisitely cruel of you. I leaned in slightly, letting the gravity of the moment sink in. You're twisted, Heather shot back, her voice trembling with indignation. You're making a fool out of yourself. Oh, am I? I questioned, my tone dripping with honeyed sarcasm. While you two were busy dancing between the sheets, I was at home, wondering where my husband had disappeared to during those long nights. I even thought, naively, that he might be working late. But here I find out he's been having a romantic dinner with you instead. How delightful! Stop it! Jason's voice cut through the tension, shaking with urgency. You're bringing chaos, and it's embarrassing. To whom? To you, or to the unsuspecting guests who believed in your fairy tale? I shot back. How about this? Why don't we ask them? Does everyone think I'm the crazy one here? Maybe I'm just the one who finally decided to stand up for myself. Faces turned toward the couple, judgment seeping into the air like an electric current. People were whispering, nudging one another, the collective energy shifting in their favor. Andrew watched with keen interest, ready to support me should things turn hostile. You don't have to keep this up, Anna. Heather's words came out like a desperate plea, but I could see the cracks forming in her confident demeanor. You want me to stop? I paused, letting the silence stretch as I pondered the notion of mercy. Let's say we redirect this performance to shine a light on the truth of deception, betrayal, and conniving acts masking as family loyalty. The flaring fire in my heart fueled my resolve as I turned my gaze back to Jason. What do you have to say for yourself, Jason? Did you think I wouldn't find out? You've betrayed the woman who stood beside you, loved you through thick and thin. And now you've dragged your sister into this mess. Jason's jaw tightened, his demeanor shifting from defensive to enraged. Do you have any idea what you're doing? This isn't what I wanted. Oh, I think it is precisely what you wanted, I shot back, polishing my words like blades. You wished for your perfect little life, a lovely little fantasy that included deceit and manipulation. All while I was left twisting in your web of lies. Did you honestly believe I would remain in the shadows forever? The crowd began to murmur, disbelief spreading like wildfire, and I savored the moment. I had taken control of my narrative, flipping the script of victimhood to power. Heather, on the brink of her own collapse, clutched at her dress, her confidence quaking. It's not like that. We were just trying to find happiness. Happiness? I echoed, incredulous. You found it at my expense. You're both festering in a toxic reality that can't last. And I'm here to remind you, no one escapes unscathed. The room felt alive with the tension of unspoken truths. It was cathartic, rebirthing the opinions of naive bystanders into gasps of shock. Jason's anger morphed into desperation, his tone low and dangerous. You've doomed us, Anna. This is going to ruin everything. You think you're exposing us, but you're only ruining your own name. My heart raced, unyielding as I reshaped the narrative. If our names must fall, let them fall together. You two thought you could steal my life and laugh at my pain. Watch the chains of your own making bind you. This is only the beginning. With a final glance filled with resolve, I turned to face the crowd. Tonight, I reclaim my power. You've witnessed betrayal, but before you is a woman who will no longer stand by as I suffocate in your darkness. Cheers erupted around me, affirming my newfound strength. I stood tall, cradled by the warmth of vindication as I prepared for what was to come for them. Image prompt. Protagonist with long brown hair pulled back in an elegant updo, wearing a stunning red gown. Standing confidently at the center of an elegantly lit gala, surrounded by shocked onlookers. In the background, Jason appears flustered, face red with shame, and Heather's expression twisted with fury. A lavish ballroom filled with crystal chandeliers casting a golden glow over the scene. I watched as the sunlight filtered through the gnarled trees, casting a golden glow all around me. Time had passed since that fateful gala, but the echoes of that night still reverberated within me. I had emerged from the shadows of betrayal and taken my rightful place in the light. No longer a victim, now a survivor. Weeks had gone by, and the fallout from my confrontation had been catastrophic for Jason and Heather. As I sat on my porch, the fresh scent of blooming roses mingling with the gentle breeze, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. It was a quiet morning, the world outside bustling yet tranquil, as I recalled their steep decline into chaos. It didn't take long for the rumors to spread. The truth of their affair had ignited wildfires of gossip, crackling and snapping through social circles, slowly consuming everything in their path. I had become a local pariah in their eyes, an outcast in a social structure where trust was hammered into frayed pieces and shattered. Did you see the headlines? Kim said, sliding onto the porch beside me, breaking my reverie. Can you believe that? All those lavish expenses he racked up were just smoke and mirrors. As she spoke, a small thrill of satisfaction stirred within me. I know. His reckless spending finally caught up to him, and now all of his lies are crumbling around him. Kim sipped her coffee, her eyebrows arching with amusement. They might be facing prison time too. Those financial discrepancies from the credit card. That's serious stuff. Good, I replied, the words slipping from my lips with a sense of vindication. They deserve to pay for deconstructing my life, for the deception they spun together in their twisted game of betrayal. They thought they'd get away with it, but deceit catches up. It always does. As I leaned back, the warmth of the sun enveloped me. It was a vivid, shimmering reminder that I was free. I had rebuilt my life, finding my footing after the storm my sister and husband had wrought. My friends had rallied around me, true friends, genuine supporters who had emerged from the shadows, and I began to flourish once more. Although it felt like I had abandoned the idea of romance, I rediscovered joy in simple moments. My laughter echoed in coffee shops. The thrill of late-night adventures without fear or shame. I had grown closer to my friends, mending those fractured relationships that Jason's toxic grip had tried to sever. Our bond fortified as we shared stories of survival, stories of strength, I chuckled, recalling a recent outing with Samantha. Anna, she had said while picking at her fries as we sat outside the local diner. I can't believe you stood up to them like that. You were phenomenal. Thanks. Honestly, I didn't know what I was capable of until that moment, I had replied, adding a slice of lemon to my iced tea. It took that revelation and a lot of pain for me to find my voice. Well, I'm glad you found it. Now we're all going to support you, and I plan on making it a regular thing, she added, her eyes shining with encouragement. My heart had fluttered with gratitude for our renewed connection. Kim had been right beside me through it all, pushing me to reach for more, never letting me slip back into despair. As I sat with her that morning, gazing out into the horizon, I could sense a shift in the air nearby. I had chosen to forge a path of my own, free from the shackles they had once placed on me. I felt empowered, happy even. Have you talked to them since? Kim asked, curiosity painted across her expression. I shook my head, defiant. I don't need to. Seeing their downfall is enough for me. The last I heard, Jason was in talks with a lawyer, trying to figure out how to salvage his reputation. Good luck with that. I'm sure he's completely crushed, Kim said, a gleam of mischief in her eyes. A small smile broke across my lips. Let him stew in the consequences of his choices. Maybe a little time behind bars will teach him what it feels like to have all your options stripped away. And Heather, how's she taking it? Kim asked, sipping on her drink. About the same, I presume, caught up in the web of their deceit, scrambling to make sense of it all. Her so-called reputation has plunged faster than ever, and I hope she reflects on her choices too. I sighed, a weight lifting from my shoulders. In that moment, I felt invigorated. I knew I had made the right choice by taking a stand, by exposing the lies that had entwined my life for so long. I relished in my victory, a metamorphosis from victim to victor, shedding the weight of betrayal like a snake shedding its skin. After a few moments of silence, the peace wrapping itself around us like a warm embrace, I turned to Kim. I think it's safe to say I've regained control of my life. You did it, she exclaimed, laughter bubbling up like a joyous song. The lives of Jason and Heather lay in ruins. Their choices had led them down a dark path, one filled with despair and regret, tangled in the threads of karma. It was time for me to reclaim my happiness truly. As I took a deep breath, letting the scent of fresh roses and warm sunlight sink deeply within me, Holly, my trusty and supportive friend from another time, appeared in the doorway of my home. Ready for our next adventure? I smiled widely as we prepared to step into what lay beyond the sanctuary I had built. Yes, let's do this. And as we left, I turned back one last time, a hope-filled heart chanting the mantra of my newfound freedom. Subscribe for more karma. And if this chapter was any indication, the next story would carry the momentum of change, and I felt excitement bubbling within me, waiting for what lay ahead. Image prompt. Protagonist: a confident woman with long brown hair cascading over her shoulders, wearing a vibrant sundress, sitting on a sunny porch, surrounded by blooming roses. She sits with a friend, both laughing, embodying a carefree spirit, the world around them bursting with life and joy. A hint of excitement dancing in the air, symbolizing newfound freedom and resilience.